Yangon, Myanmar. She was seen as a beacon of democracy whose unflinching stance against Myanmar's brutal dictatorship and years under house arrest saw her honored with a Nobel Peace Prize. But Aung San Suu Kyi, who as state councillor is now Myanmar's de facto leader, is facing increasing international criticism over the treatment of the minority Rohingya Muslim population amid a bloody crackdown following attacks by insurgents. The military has said nearly 400 people, most of them alleged insurgents, have died in the recent violence and accused the militants of terrorist atrocities against non-Muslim civilians as well as burning down their own villages. However, Rohingya people and rights groups accuse the army of a brutal campaign of reprisals against civilians, with one UN official last year suggesting that crimes against humanity had occurred. The violence has triggered a flood of Muslim Rohingya refugees from the predominantly Buddhist country. The UNHCR on Monday said 87,000 people had fled into neighboring Bangladesh since August. 25. Aid agencies say that some had suffered bullet wounds. Some Rohingya have alleged atrocities including children being beheaded and a group of men forced into a bamboo hut before being burned alive. International media and independent observers are barred from the area and NBC News has not been able to verify such accounts. On Friday, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan branded the deaths of Rohingya in Myanmar as genocide, but that claim has been rejected by international experts. Last year, a UN official told the BBC that the government had an ultimate goal of ethnic cleansing of the Muslim minority in Myanmar. And Malala Yousafzai, the youngest person to win the Nobel Peace Prize, on Monday said on Twitter she was waiting for Suu Kyi to condemn the tragic and shameful treatment of the Rohingya. While the human rights icon has previously been accused of remaining silent when it comes to abuses against the Rohingya, who are largely denied citizenship or freedom of movement by Suu Kyi's government, statements and graphic images that have been published by the State Councillors Information Committee are now facing scrutiny. Suu Kyi rarely speaks in public, so that body is often the only guide the public has to her opinion on key issues. Some of the social media posts by the Information Committee were accused of promoting hate speech, including the use of the term extremist Bengali terrorism, which is considered inflammatory. Others attempted to link international aid groups to terrorism. Zeid Rad Hussein, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, described statements from the Information Committee as highly irresponsible, saying they would only increase fears and potential for further violence. Phil Robertson, Deputy Director of Human Rights Watch's Asia Division, described Suu Kyi as part of the problem. He added, "There are only so many times even someone like her should receive the benefit of the doubt." Robertson also accused Suu Kyi of reckless statements and using on her website the same language of anti-Rohingya extremists she previously decried. The violence erupted when a group calling itself the Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army, ARSA, launched deadly attacks in what they said was a defense of the Muslim minority who are largely denied citizenship in Myanmar. There are approximately 1.1 million Rohingya in Myanmar. Armed primarily with knives and homemade explosives, ARSA killed 12 police officers, a soldier and an immigration officer. In response, the military unleashed what it called clearance operations to root out the insurgents. "My brother was killed." Myanmar army soldiers burnt him with the group, non-profit organization Fortify Rights quoted 41-year-old Abdul Rahman as saying. "We found my other family members in the fields." They had marks on their bodies from bullets and some had cuts. "My two nephews, their heads were off. One was 6 years old and the other was 9 years old. My sister-in-law was shot with a gun." Satellite imagery analyzed by Human Rights Watch shows hundreds of buildings have been destroyed in at least 17 sites across Rakhine State since August 25, including some 700 structures that appeared to have been burned down in just the village of Chinkarli, the organization said in a statement issued Saturday. The government blames the insurgents for burning their own homes and killing non-Muslims in Rakhine. Long-standing tension between the Rohingya Muslims and ethnic Rakhine Buddhists erupted in bloody rioting in 2012, forcing more than 140,000 Rohingya into displacement camps, where around 100,000 still remain. The military said most of those killed were militants, but army representatives and the government have both said security forces are finding it difficult to distinguish between insurgents and ordinary Rohingya villagers. ARSA is also accused of killing members of the Rohingya community at Bilai.